Yo, yo, yo. Welcome back to episode 34 of the Snatch Chat podcast. Same as usual, you are with me, and we're going to go through a bunch of questions from the people that I coach, the people that are in the free school community, and just general questions that I get through over on Instagram. So we've got a good mix of questions as always. Some that I'm looking to, we're going to talk about the Commonwealth Games as well, which has sort of kicked off already. In England, Wales, Scotland are all sort of off to a really good start. I watched the women's 48 taking, where did Tammy come out? 5th. Cole came 6th, and then I forgot the Scottish girl's name, came 7th. But yeah, that was really, really good. I think when we get to these sort of competitions, you start to realise that this press out rule becomes a bit of it just becomes so, what's the word? It's just judged pretty unfairly. Some have a clear press out where you watch it and you go, oh yeah, it's a no lift. And then all of a sudden it's a lift. Other people where it's the faintest side of movement, basically to the point where it's like, I don't even know if that was a press out, is then 3 red lighted. I don't know. I just wish there was some sort of way we could do a better job of this. Like you look at football and there's the VAR and like test cricket or cricket in general. The one where they sort of, when they can judge the ball and see where it was going to sort of hit for an LBW or whatever, or if it was going to hit the wickets if the person wasn't in the way. I think there's got to be something out there where whether it's like an analysis piece of software that can sort of go, that's what your straight arm is like. That movement is what we're counting as a no rep. And then at least then we can go, well, if it was faint or if it was great and this machine or this technology is able to sort of pick up that there's some sort of flexion there. I don't know. I just think it makes it a little bit fairer. But I'm not one that is saying that we've got to take the press out rule out of weightlifting. You take it out of weightlifting, you take out quite a big thing to the point where how much of a press out is then too much of a press out. Someone like grinding a split jerk over the head like this, and then it becomes pretty shit, isn't it? Like, but then if that person then wins and the person before, I don't know. I just think that the press out rule, I reckon, is a better way of analysing it, but I'm not here saying get rid of the press out rule. Let's just flipping go full send on whatever press out is possible. Like, I don't know. I just don't think that's the way forward either. But anyways, less of me rambling on about utter shit. Definitely though, get yourself watching some of the weightlifting. Like, I think there's some brilliant stuff coming up. It's really good to see sort of Chris Murray again, sort of seeing where he is. I don't even think I've not seen him in a competition recently, so it'd be good to sort of see where he is compared to his best. And as he always says, 150 is not going to snatch itself. And I just would love to see a 150 snatch by him. But anyways, let's go. Question number 1. When I catch the snatch overhead, I feel like I am on the edge of dropping it every time I try to stand up. How do I actually feel stable and confident receiving a heavy bar? So first things first, where are you receiving it when you say overhead? Are you catching it towards the front of the head or center of the head? If so, it's going to be harder than on the shoulders to actually stabilize that movement. We want that bar to be crown of the head or slightly behind you, okay? That is where you're going to that's where you're going to feel more stability. So first things first, where are you receiving it? Maybe you need to think about bringing it back a little bit. So what I would say to a lifter that is catching it constantly in front of them is throw that bar behind you. Get active to try and drive that bar behind you. What you'll find is that you'll drive that head through and you'll find a stronger catch. And the other thing then that I would look at doing is seeing how you receive the bar in the volant position. There's 2 ways that I would look at this, is that you've got a passive receive, and then you've got an active receive. Passive receive is I'm just here, I'm holding the bar. This then, dropping the shoulders, is going to create the arm bend, rolling that bar forwards. Instability overhead. Stability overhead is active. And the way I like to think of this is think of the ceiling is falling in. You are the only thing that's going to hold that ceiling up. So you're going to squeeze the shoulder blades together, drive that chest out, shoulders towards your ears, and you're almost going to try and pretend that you are the only thing that is holding that ceiling up. Active. That's how we want to be in the bottom position of the snatch. Not like that. It's going to create that instability overhead. Question number 2. How can I drop under the bar faster for both the snatch and the clean? I spent a bit of time watching the Commonwealth Games, and the lifters there get down so quickly. Man, that is what we call the art of weightlifting. We want to drive up, but then how do we change direction and get speed underneath? So the way that I would look at this is that, or the way that I think a lot of people think that the movement is that I've got to move fast on the way up to drive that bar higher. Okay. And it's not necessarily about that. The way I would look at it is I'm going to try and absorb as much force as possible in my snatch. So I'm moving that bar as efficiently as possible. The emphasis of this movement is going to be the squeeze of the legs as I drive into my extension. I'm then not going to think about getting super tall or over pulling that bar to get the bar higher. I'm just going to think about that forceful, aggressive, almost assertive force into that bar position. I want the speed to be under. If I try and drive the bar fast to try and get them height on it, I can't have speed on the way up and speed on the way down. I need to move tightly through my positions. So I'm putting as much force underneath that bar as possible. I squeeze my glutes, snap the hips, but the forceful speed movement comes from me jumping into my squat position. You can't jump into your squat position if all of the emphasis is about trying to move the bar fast from the floor through into extension. You can't move fast on the way up and then down. Okay. Think of it as like law of what must come up must come down. If I throw it into the air, it's going to then reach its peak height to then fall. But if I just hold it here and then let go, it's going to hit the floor faster, isn't it? Okay. So that is almost what we've got to try and do. I want to get it into position, but I'm then not going to throw it and let it float and reach its peak height. The emphasis is going to be that drive, that force into that bottom position. Hopefully that makes sense. Things to practice there though, if that is you, 4 movements, forget about the drills and things, working on tighter positions. But then as you get to the hips, think of the cue, hips and drop, hips and drop, hips and drop, hips and drop. As soon as you drop, it's not that just like that gentle movement. You're going to almost try and think about pushing your feet through the floor, drive your feet through the floor, get aggressive, get tight in that bottom position. Yeah. Okay. Question number 3. When we are training weightlifting, does every athlete have a ceiling as per weight they can manage, or is it something that is done by training? Just curious. Okay, so I think it's almost like levels rather than the ceiling effect. I think you can hit a ceiling if you're not necessarily manipulating your program to what you actually need to work on, or without highlighting the exact thing that is holding you back. We've always got something that we can work on. And I think it's more like levels. So the earlier levels, level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're going to start to see progress quicker. Okay. Then you get into that second year of training, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Progress starts to slow down. You're seeing progress, but it's not as quick and it's not as regular as the first 5 levels. Then you go into the third year, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Progress now is a lot slower. What you'll find is that your program needs to be probably a little bit longer because you need to spend a little bit more time at these percentages. And I think people do have a ceiling, but I think that ceiling often moves, and it all depends on how much work you're going to do in these levels. And whether you see that just weight on the bar is the thing that means that's the next level, or do you see that there's areas of mobility and strength and performance improving and consistency, and what all these things take us to the next level. And it's about collecting all these little areas together, making adjustments in our technique, improving our mobility, working on recovery, nutrition, The more we do, the more we stack, you'll start to see that ceiling, progress, and we can move up to that next level. I think for the most part, there's a lot of people out there that don't like to put in that hard work and not see results time and time again. And obviously that I understand that. It's hard. Weightlifting is a very hard sport when you get to like 3 years in and progress becomes limited. You might snatch an extra kilo this year, but that's it within a year. Still a really, really good result that it's kilo on, because you probably improved a hell of a lot of things to actually get that extra kilo. And it's about enjoying the journey, I think. And I think sometimes we can solely focus on the outcome and getting to that next stage rather than the journey itself. And the journey is the best bit. The journey is teaching you so many things, so many life lessons, patience, consistency, yada, 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 yada. Yeah, I think that there is a ceiling, but with that ceiling can change height depending on the work and the groundwork you want to put in to actually reach that next level. Hopefully that makes sense. Next question. My training this week has felt completely flat and I cannot tell if I should push through or back off. It has been like this since my last competition. Right, so my training last week was the worst training week known to freaking man. And it's so annoying, really, really hard to not get pissed off the fact that training hasn't gone well, or, things aren't moving the way that you want them to move. And I look at a deeper level and I'm like, I've had a really, really good training block over the last few weeks. And then all of a sudden, these last 2 weeks, it's flipping nosedived. And the thing that it's down to is recovery. I was going through a bit of a change at the moment. She's waking up now at 3:30, which means when I do that night feed at 3:30, and then I get ready at 4:30 to get to work, it means I don't go back to bed in that time. Or if I do go back to bed, it's like 15, 20 minutes before then I'm back up to get ready for work. And that's just taken a little bit of adjustment. I wasn't necessarily changing the time that I was going to sleep. I was still going to bed at the same time, but losing sleep. And it was literally ruining me. That first week that happened, training wasn't so bad. Last week, the second week of it, Jesus Christ, it's now all caught up with me. Luckily, this weekend, I've had really good sleep every weekend. I feel like I'm getting myself back there. Trained this morning, had a fantastic session. And I've made all these adjustments thinking that training was going to go shit again. And I've almost ran 2 different programs. I've ran one as if training is going good. The one that felt good, right, go with this plan. And if training doesn't go right, use this plan for this week. And I've opted for the second version just because there's volume's a little bit higher, intensities are down a little bit. So even though I feel better, I don't think I'm sort of like primed and ready to start to hit, towards 90% of my maxes. I brought it back down to 8%. I'm happy to sort of sit there now and sort of slow these next few weeks and just get in training and start enjoying it rather than try and push it and feel shit. And I think that's what you've got to do. And I think it's a thing that you work with your coach about really and set up different things. I'm working with someone, suffering with endometriosis. It must be a bitch. And I'm so glad that I am male, that I don't go through that, because it's so shit for the female who goes through that. And there's nothing out there. There's no sort of cure. There's no nothing. The doctors do a pretty shit job of helping women in this case. It leaves them demotivated, feeling a lot of pain, and training might feel a bit rocky. So what we've done is we've just created an optional extra session. So if one of the sessions just feels like shit, revert back to this. It's still appropriate to the week. So, or that month of training, that cycle of training. It's not totally different. We've just got a higher focus on simple movements and more accessory stuff. So we don't get sort of, upbeat about or tight about the technicalities of heavy snatches and clean jerks. Muscle snatches, overhead squats are so simple, but can still teach us what we still want to get throughout that cycle. And I think there's things that we can do and adapt to in the program, but there's also areas you probably need to look at recovery, regarding this question. So next question. What is the most underrated movement for improving the snatch that is almost no one does enough of? Full snatches, literally full snatches. I think so many people and so many coaches get wound up or so focused around finding the drill, the different variation of the full lift to focus on this one thing. And for a lot of people, they need to just snatch and clean jerk more often. Okay. Rather than finding what the drill is and what variant they should use to focus on this area, just start getting it really good at snatches and clean and jerks. You might want to sort of slow it down and go into a tempo just so you get a better feeling of that movement, but you don't need to look at hangs and blocks and high hangs and within all that unless there's a purpose for it. But to get good at weightlifting, just do more weightlifting, just do the full movements, practice that full movement. And I think sometimes people focusing on the different techniques and the drills and the variations of the movements, that they get really good at the variations, but then the full lifts don't move. Just focus on the full goddamn lift. Right, next question. Train well alone, but fall apart technically the moment my coach or anyone else is watching me. Why does being observed change how I lift and what can I do about it? I know who's asked me this question. We were in a session the other day, going really, really well. I just wanted to film one set, and then all of a sudden it went to shit. And it wasn't because there was it was probably an element of fatigue, but it wasn't necessarily down to technique. It was down to the fact that she wanted to make sure that it looked really good on camera. Soon as the shift has gone from the lift into what does my lift look like, someone's filming me, I need to make this look good, it all went to shit. The way to overcome this is get filmed more. you film your lifts more, get your coach to film your lifts more often. What you'll find then is that it becomes a less of a thing, not as much of a pent up and anxious sort of moment. What if this happens and it's caught on camera? Fuck it and find out. One of my favorite sayings. Fucking love saying it as well. Yeah, just start filming more of your lifts. The more that you film, the less sort of it's going to stick out a bit of a sore foot. There's nothing necessarily else you need to do about this. Just film yourself more. Get used to being on camera. And you'll find then that the brain and the movement and what you think about becomes less on the camera because you're so used to it and you can still keep focused on the lift. Right. I have watched your content for months and have finally decided to book my first OptiPass session. What should I actually expect when I walk in on day one? So cannot wait to meet you. So before I actually go into this, I think 18 months that we've sort of spoke on social media. We've gone through, you've seen so much content. You're in the group. You've got down all the sort of the free things that I've put out. And now you're finally in. And I can't wait to actually help you on that journey. So it's 7 days. We've got 3 coaching sessions. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. You get access to all those sessions. Your program is the assessment. And the idea is that we are going to assess your technique, your strength, your consistency and mobility. So session 1 is going to have a higher snatch focus. Session 2 has a higher clean and jerk focus. Session 3 is about consistency. Your static strength and your mobility assessments and tests fit in around that. And the idea is within that 7 days is that we are looking to gather as much information as possible. We want to be able to put all of the data on the table, find out what your strengths and weaknesses are, and the areas that we need to adapt to move you forwards. From there, then we start to create your program. Your program being totally specific and tailored to the data that is on the table and to you as an individual. With all that, then we're in a really good place then to just move your training forwards. We'll have clarity on what we actually need to do to actually start making the appropriate steps to move forwards. And then we go from there. It's that simple. Honestly, it's probably one of those like light bulb moments where we've got all this data down. It's like, aha, this is the area that we need to fix. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to find that aha moment. And we can do that by just assessing everything within a coach session, with a coach, with like-minded people, so you can see how other people are lifting. They're going to motivate you to actually do better in your own training. And yeah, we put together a proper tailored program. That is how we work here. It's not classed as, it's not a weightlifting club where everyone does the same program. Someone's doing power snatches that needs to actually stop doing power snatches, but because the session does power snatches, they're doing power snatches. If there's someone is in there doing power snatches, it's down to a specific issue that they need to get height on the bar. It's not because they can't hit a full squat. If you're struggling to get a full squat, you might find that you're doing tempo snatches or high hang snatches to work on that bottom position, but you're in a session together doing something, training together, but your program is still specific to you. And we do only have 6 people in sessions because of this, because there is so many different things going on, and the session wants to be, I still want to be able to coach you, and 6 people is the best amount for that. Any more than that, then coaching goes downhill. You have less contact time. We're just the same as everybody else. Like this is the fucking place to be. Right, next question number 9. What is next for OptiLift after the fundraiser? Where does the club go from here? So one thing I've been toying with is I've never done it before, and I don't know whether to sort of blog like the journey over the next few weeks, months, years, maybe, of building the ultimate weightlifting club or the weightlifting community. Building the ultimate weightlifting community, because the fundraiser is only just the start of it. Like we're gaining or trying to get as many donations as possible. From there, then we can put platforms down, increase the size of our weightlifting area inside CrossFit, but we can get more people in the classes. Everyone's got a proper setting. Everyone's got a bar. Everyone's got plates. Everyone's got a platform. At the moment, some people have got platforms. Some people on the rubber floor. It's not the end of the world, but the rubber floor is broken because it's not as compact as the platforms. So yeah, I want to make sure that everyone in these classes has a similar sort of setting, and this is what we're doing it. We're then the equipment that we're buying as well. We're going to have loads of technique bars and really light, larger plates, because then we want to open up the doors to broomstick barbell, but bringing in people that are working inside local charities. So we've got St. Basil's that's down the road. There's other the charities in the area. whether we need to go to them or they can come to us, and we've got the equipment to host them. That's brilliant. And it's also about, like, I want to work with local schools and raise awareness of Olympic lifting in the local area, get people, or, and eventually sort of setting up a youth club, or a kids weightlifting club. At the moment, we can only sort of cater for athletes. It'd be fantastic to have adults and kids on at the same time under another. So there's loads of different things that we're trying to do to actually move this forwards. But for me, it's about building the ultimate weightlifting community, and it's going to be on the school app as well. But I want to make it accessible to as many people as possible, and I want to simplify it in it, because it looks quite daunting. There's loads of shit on social media and YouTube, and you can get sort of lost in all this. When really, if we look at the technicalities of it and break it down and simplify it, the middle one is quite simple. And that's what I want to try and get across. And we can do that by having or hosting events in this area. So yeah, there's so much coming up. I don't even know where to start. And going back to what I said at the start, and I don't know whether to actually start blogging this, so you can actually come and join us on the journey. So even if you are sort of a million miles away, you can still feel a part of it, and you can still sort of take part. Like people in the community, in the free school community, which I've linked below if you're not already in it, it's totally free. And there's so many resources on there to actually make you better as a weightlifter. But I want to work with the community to actually let them tell me what they think that the club should do, and we can work together to actually make it move forwards. This is not like a business where it's like, I am the CEO and shit rolls downhill and this is what we're going to do because this is the best interest for my back pocket. Like, yeah, that's brilliant, but it's not really what I'm in it for. Like, I want to build a fantastic community, raising awareness of how awesome weightlifting is and how easy it can be to get involved. And that's where we are. All right, last question. I have been training for 2 years and genuinely love this sport, but I am starting to wonder if I will ever compete. When do you know you are ready? If you can snatch and clean and jerk, you are ready to compete. Like, I think I've spoken to a few people that have been like, when I can snatch X amount and clean and jerk X amount, I'm then going to compete. Why? You obviously want to compete because you want to compete when you hit those numbers. Why wait? Because at the end of the day, a competition, tier 3 competitions, like the lowest level competition, you are not there really to compete against anyone else. You are there to literally stand on a stage in front of 3 judges, in front of a crowd, and put on your performance and challenge yourself. So it doesn't really matter what anyone else is lifting. It doesn't really matter where you come in the rankings. It's about testing your ability. You then enter the second competition, and you're challenging yourself and testing if you're better than when you were at the first competition. We then have a clear idea of what we need to put into training for before the third competition. We then make sure we move better than we did in the second competition and lift more than we did in the second competition. You are only in competition with yourself, no one else. As soon as you can do a full snatch and a full clean and jerk and you want to compete, go and compete. Don't wait to sort of hit certain numbers. Not everyone wants to complete. That is absolutely fine. I think competitions, I wish it weren't called competitions. We can call it something else. Bit of a test. It's like a 1 rep max in front of 3 judges, but it's the ultimate test to actually see if that movement would hold up against the rules that are inside weightlifting. Have you pressed out? Sit in front of 3 judges. Let them assess your lift. It's the ultimate way of seeing how well you move. It's the ultimate way of finding out what we need to work on ready for your next competition. It gives us so much information, and I think everyone should at least sort of compete just to test themselves. Never about competing against anyone else. As soon as you start to work up the ranks and you hit English, totals and British totals, yeah, okay, it's a bit of competition then, but tier 3, you're there on your own. You're going to compete and challenge yourself. If you're there to outperform or outlift somebody else, and you're focused around what the board is doing, and you're making all these tactical decisions at a tier 3 competition, it's a bit odd. Okay, and you're there to mop up medals. No, make it a challenge. Challenge yourself. That's what it's all about. That is the end of episode 34 of the Snatch Chat podcast. I've really enjoyed that. I feel like we've had some really good questions, a little bit sort of my personal story and where I want to go with OptiLift. And there's so many things. Honestly, it's so exciting. And I think by me saying this, will probably resonate as much about that last question. If you're thinking about compete, it will resonate as much as it did with you about that. I'm making sense. If it resonated with you that you should just compete, rather than waiting to hit certain numbers, great. Because someone who's asked me that question about where OptiLift goes next has now made it resonate with me. That's going, yeah, you know what? I am going to document this journey. I think it'd be awesome. I just want to take people on the ride with me. It opens up doors, it opens up friendships. I'm going to speak to different people, and they might help me and give me their 2 pence on, how we can make this even better. So yeah, that is the end of episode 34. Hope you've enjoyed it. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends and family so we can actually get more people viewing, experiencing what the OptiLift method is all about, bringing more people into weightlifting. That is the goal. That is what we want to see. Catch you in the next one. Ciao.